Okay, folks, so there are times when I sit middle of the week as I start thinking about what we're going to do on the show. And I think, what are we going to talk about this week? Because let's be honest with each other. The beginning of this week, I was searching for things to talk about. And then Wednesday happened. Welcome to the lean, mean, Russell talking machine that is Wrestling with Egos. It is I, the intellectual savior of the wrestling masses, joined this week by my partners in crime, the Reverend of the Rant, Patrick, the Big Don of Wrestling with Egos, Isaac. Thank you, as always, for consuming our content however you do it. YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple, Anchor. Leave us that 5-star review. Interact with the show through comments. Tweet the show, Wrestling X Egos, on Twitter. Our personal contacts are up there. But enough admin. Gentlemen, first of all, before we dive into all the newsworthy topics of this week, and believe me, there's several, how are we doing?
I'm good. Hanging, doing the great things. Happy. Can't complain. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you, sir.
If
Mr. Reverend.
If I were any better, I'd be twins. Life is good. I appreciate the fact that you guys didn't say much about it, but programming note, I'm taking a small break from the show. But this week just seemed too freaking fun to pass up. So I'm gonna pop in and out between now and Mania. But yeah, tonight was just like, no. I can't not be with my boys tonight. So, girl.
That being said, we're going to start off with two pieces of news that are more positive. I mean, the third piece of news might be positive. We might be able to spin it positively. I don't know how that's going to go.
The third piece of news, if anything, right now is controversial. And
yes.
We're going to address positive, negatives, question marks, exclamation points, everything under the sun. The first
I can find a few semicolons too, but you know, that's fine.
Don't ever sleep on the Oxford comma.
I wouldn't dream of it.
But the other point I wanted to make, the first two, one absolutely confirmed. The other one, all reports are saying it's gotta happen, are both fun and they're both great, and there's nothing bad to say about either one of them, in my opinion. B, go.
Breaking news earlier today, about 11 a.m. Eastern time. It was confirmed by WWE that the first entrant, and perhaps the only entrant into this year's, perhaps.
Don't steal my thunder.
I'm only saying that because other people have said it. The first entrant into this year's Hall of Fame class for WWE is the Dead Man, The Undertaker, and sir, congratulations from all of us here at Wrestling with Egos. Hashtag thank you, Taker. Isaac, take this. Oh, Patrick, you want to jump in there. Take it any direction you want to take it.
I just wanted to get, because I tweeted this out earlier today on my own account, because this is something I strongly believe in. Every year we have a Hall of Fame class of however many people. There's someone that's dead every year. There's a woman every year. There's a tag team every year. And there's some big, massive headliner every year. If ever there was a year to do one person, it's this. It is The Undertaker. If it's me, The Undertaker has been categorically, emphatically, the single most important character in the history of professional wrestling. You cannot convince me otherwise because of the longevity. We did it. He was the second freaking GOAT discussion we ever did on this show, and clearly the greatest character of all time. But I would also argue the most important WWE superstar of all time, because of longevity, because of significance, because of his transcendent nature, and which then became mystique. Hulk Hogan never had the aura that The Undertaker had. The Rock never had that aura. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. The list goes on and on of the absolute G's of professional wrestling. Nobody had the aura of The Undertaker. My personal opinion is it is an entire Hall of Fame ceremony, complete with live speeches, and stories from the people that encountered him the most significantly. People like Bruce Pritchard, because he was Brother Love. People like Paul Heyman. People like Stone Cold Steve Austin. People like Triple H. The people, Glenn freaking Jacobs.
Yep.
The people that mattered, the people that in the grand timeline that is The Undertaker were the massive pinpoint in his career. And those people, my opinion, should have their moment to give their thoughts on The Undertaker and conclude the night by bringing out the man himself, Mark Calloway, and have him finally, out of character, speak to a live audience for the very first time. I think this could be, if done right, this could be one of the most beautifully emotional nights in the history of wrestling. And it probably won't happen because WWE can't do anything right. But if I'm doing it, this would be it, because there aren't many people in wrestling that you would give the Mariano Rivera treatment to. Mariano Rivera being the only person in the Baseball Hall of Fame that went in as a unanimous vote. And trust me, there were guys in baseball that should have done it before him. Tom Seaver, Greg Maddux, Ken Griffey Jr., Derek Jeter. No, Derek Jeter hasn't gone in yet. Just to name a few. But for God's sake, man, this could be, if done right, absolutely beautifully and deservedly so, for a character that has meant more to wrestling, I would argue, than any other wrestler in history, including the names of Flair, Hogan, Austin, Rock, McMahon, so on and so forth.
Race.
Yeah, doesn't matter the name. Rhodes, you can keep going. I don't care. But the historical significance, I'm not saying that he's the greatest of all time and there was nobody better, because trust me, Shawn, Rick, Harley, Dusty, those four at least belong on the Mount Rushmore of all time more than Mark Calloway. But from a a character significant standpoint, there is no one above The Undertaker, in my opinion.
Isaac, get in there.
Everything that Patrick just said, absolutely true. Absolutely on point with everything that he said. The significance of him, the timing of the production that Vince had, and having that character be who he was, the aura of him. He walks into the room, you feel it. The fact that he's 6'8", 6'9", and he comes in with everything. One other thing I would just add to Patrick, that he said, was also to bring in the family of Paul Bearer to talk about how the significance of him and Paul and what they had together. And
if we're adding names to that list, there was one that I forgot. One that came to mind as soon as you started talking. Foley.
Yep.
Oh God, yeah.
You can't. But I mean, regardless of who those names are, I mean, you guys are getting my point that, we should parade these guys out to sing the praises of what The Undertaker meant to wrestling in their eyes, and then go to the next one, and then go to the next one, and then go to the next one. And then finally, as the night concludes, ladies and gentlemen, The Undertaker. Calloway comes out, gives an out of character speech talking about his career, thanking the people that he wants to thank the fans, thank Vince, even though Vince doesn't want anybody to thank him, and thank Michelle and the kids, and good night. Don't give me anybody else. I mean, there are plenty of people that deserve to be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Just not this year.
No. I mean, I'm sorry. Look, The Rock at some point absolutely deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. The Rock shouldn't even get this treatment, in my opinion.
I know. I agree.
The Undertaker. I mean, I'd always make the joke on this show that when Sting debuted in WWE with, at Survivor Series that year, I stood up in Brian's house and said to everyone, including these two, ladies and gentlemen, God. Let's be honest. If there's a God in wrestling, it's The Undertaker.
I think for me, and I should know what match this happened at, and I can't remember. I want to say it was the Hell in a Cell with Shawn. A line that JR had about him when he came out, and JR said something effective. There he is, folks, the measuring stick, the conscience of the WWF.
He called him the conscience of the WWF a gajillion times, but that was the first one I remember as well. And you're right. It was that Hell in a Cell against Shawn where he called him the measuring stick.
Right. And I agree with everything that both of you have said about the man. I can't think of a more impactful character. And I went back a couple days ago. I don't know why I queued it up again, but I watched some of the Last Ride documentary again. And one of the parts he mentioned about how he protected that character. He tried his best to keep up with kayfabe. If he was making a public appearance, he was The Undertaker. He was not Mark Calloway. Very few people knew him that way. You saw the clips of him on Regis and Kathy Lee, and on that sort of thing, and being interviewed and all that kind of stuff. And it's because of the way he treated that character to keep that aura of mystery, and then the way people sought out his opinion. His opinion mattered.
Yeah.
Like, here's Vince's opinion, and there, right about there, is Mark Calloway's opinion.
One word that you can use to describe The Undertaker that I do not think you can apply to anyone else in the history of history of the business, office, or talent. Reverence.
Yep. I mean, if I were to meet the man, I often joke that if I were to meet The Rock, I wouldn't know what to say, and I'd probably probably soil myself or whatever. If I were to meet The Undertaker, I think I would definitely, have a hard time, putting a coherent sentence together.
I would be a blubbering mess because one, you guys know where Taker lies on my Mount Rushmore of my favorites. Him and Sting are on that list, and they are carved in stone already. I would have a very, very hard time even being able to say thank you. You gave me so many memories as a wrestling fan. I mean, damn. Isaac, you've been patiently waiting, my man.
As we sit here and talk about, how impactful The Undertaker has been, we also, and the person that just popped in my mind, and I totally forgot about this person, but we also have to sit here and just the significance of this person and how he came into the wrestling industry and did what he did was Andre the Giant. and that's the only other person we could possibly even reference the Undertaker to, and having the impact,
The reverence
of, because it was Andre, who he was, a guy that's 7'4", 500 pounds plus, and was a star attraction everywhere he went.
But not just that, but the respect he had, not only as a performer, but as a peer with the other wrestlers. Everyone respected the boss.
Yes.
Everyone respected Taker.
And folks, if you're, if you're watching our show and you're thinking, what is this professional wrestling they're talking about, and why do they love it so much? You could do a lot worse than finding insert name of Undertaker versus opponent and just queuing it up.
Right.
And then you will understand a little bit more about why we devote some time every week to talking about this stuff.
It's a tagline for our show. This is why we love wrestling.
Yes.
In my little box right here, I can give you a very quick answer in 4 syllables. Undertaker.
Yeah.
Had to get that in there. But I mean, there are gods, and then there are gods in wrestling.
Then there's the Undertaker.
No, and then a couple of weeks ago, you made the reference to the Lord Almighty, and I was like, are we talking about the Lord, or are we talking about whichever stupid wrestler it was I mentioned? In wrestling, you might make the argument that the Undertaker is Lord Almighty.
Might. The other piece of newsworthy tidbits coming out of WWE is there is rumors circulating as the WrestleMania card starts to take shape that a certain beer-swilling, foul-mouthed, bald-headed SOB, not you, Patrick, might be making an in-ring return of sorts at WrestleMania, and his name is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Not gonna blur it out because I have trouble chasing shapes in post-production, so I'm not even gonna do it.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Can I start them?
I'll just get mine out of the way really quick, because this is and a little foreshadowing here. This is a problem the WWE has right now that the brunt of what we're talking about later could possibly help solve as I spin things forward here. An over-reliance on legends and stuff like that. I don't need to see a 57-year-old man, even Stone Cold Steve Austin, as great as the man is, in a wrestling match at WrestleMania. I'm not here for that. Because you could make the argument that Austin went out, we talk about, how Shawn kind of ruined it by coming back for that, cesspool with Triple H and Taker and Kane in Saudi Arabia, and how Goldberg's kind of ruined it by coming back and having the stink fests and stuff like that.
Coming back and then coming back and then
yes, and then continuing to come back, like the Twinkies that will still be around after the apocalypse happens.
Hey,
and Cher.
Yeah.
Keith Richards, 5 cockroaches, Goldberg's career.
Yeah. You could make an argument that Austin went out better than he wanted to shield against The Rock at WrestleMania 19, focus on the mental health, focus on the physical health, all of those things. And he's made appearances since then, and he's become a mighty fine interviewer of people.
Oh God.
I just don't know, and maybe I'm overthinking this, and maybe it's just going to be an appearance, stunner, crack open a couple of cold ones, salute the fans, and leave. And if that's the case, that's fine. But I wonder, do you need that to take up 20 minutes of your 2-night WrestleMania? I guess I just wonder that. You guys go ahead.
Isaac, man, because I will be brief on this one.
I'll let you go because you know I'm a huge Austin fan. So
I'll let you have. I'll let you have the floor. You don't need it, Brian, but we definitely want it. And here's
Yes,
why.
Alice, I know.
Because, well, one, Dallas, Texas. Number two, we've gotten every other freaking legend. They've dusted off and they've thrown out there unnecessarily, including the Undertaker. Don't get me wrong. The Rock's comeback. He definitely did not look crappy in any of his matches, including the two at Mania with Cena. Those were both bangers. But here's the thing with Austin. Austin is one of those shticks that, much like how I always joke about the kick six from Auburn or Jorge Soler's home run in the World Series, it will never, ever, 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 ever get old. Owens can
12 shows in a row, folks.
Dude. Okay, so I made the reference. Whatever. It will never get old. Not to me, at least. Owens can come out. Owens can run down Dallas. Owens can be the typical bastard heel that he always is. Glass breaks. Here comes Austin. Stunner. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Beer. That's all we need. Because literally, if you do a Goldberg match with Austin and Owens being the bastard that he can be, pop. Nuclear pop. Because 1, Texas. 2, Texan and Austin. 3, Jerry's World, 100,000 people plus. Ba-boom. I'm sorry, that to me writes itself. Mr. Austin fan, you're up.
should have won my raise hell, leave, raise hell, arrive, raise hell, leave shirt, and that's the way it should be. But I'm kind of concerned. I understand why we want him back because who doesn't want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin? Let's just be honest about that. The fact being that, yes, it's in Texas, it's in Dallas Stadium, all that jazz. We all know. I don't know if Austin can go 20 minutes. I'm just saying. I don't know if it's going to be a match or if he's going to do whatever he's going to do or how they're going to work him in. Would it be nice? Be nice, yeah. But I mean, is it going to go that way? We'll find out. We'll see. I'm glad to see him back, all that jazz. But at the same time, you're calling up everybody on the reserve bench that's in the Hall of Fame to show up this year because you don't got anybody. That's all I'm saying. Look,
You don't have faith in anybody.
No. Well, and that's their own fault because they haven't built anybody.
Right.
We're a year plus into it, and literally the only legit contender we've ever had for Roman is freaking Brock. And you could have done so much better with it. You could have done more with Balor when they had the match at Extreme Rules. You could have built somebody else up. By God, you could be building up Drew McIntyre right now, but no. Got to rely on Brock.
Yep.
Why? Short-sighted. WWE's biggest problem. For me, though, Austin's one of those, I'll call him a novelty act at this point because that's really all it is. He's got his shtick. He's going to come out, go drink a few beers, flip some people off, hit a damn stunner, drink some more beer. Damn, kid. It's simply, that's it. And that's all we need to see. It's one of those things that no matter how often it happens, it never gets old. Even though one guy's wrestling in AEW now and the other one, I think he's still with the company. The New Age Outlaws could come out at Mania, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and we'd all be doing the damn thing with Road Dogg. Tag champions of the world. We'd all be doing it. I mean, there's just some things in wrestling that never get old. Never, get old, and Steve Austin's one of them. I will always watch a back and forth with Austin and somebody, because Austin will make them look stupid with just his redneck humor and his don't trust anyone attitude. And then he'll kick somebody either in the gut or, like he did poor Byron Saxton, kick him right in the nuts. Boom. You know, when he drilled Byron south of the border on 316 day.
Awesome.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, and real quick, we're talking about Austin and his interview, and we're also talking about 316 day. What a monumental day that was on the WWE Network, because it was a show without fans. We even before the video screens, we honored Steve Austin. Byron Saxton got kicked in the nuts and then stunned, and then Becky Lynch on the Broken Skull Sessions said, "I got drunk and got pregnant." She literally said that. She's like,
"Oh my God."
He literally said that was the night she got completely drunk and then got pregnant. And
insert my favorite Dumbledore meme. Well,
I mean, but again, Austin doesn't get old. I mean, even though we don't like him, Hulk Hogan doing this does not get old. Hogan Must Pose does not get old. As much as I don't like him, Sing Along with The Rock doesn't get old.
So we're kind of working backwards here, you know, with all these news items. And now you've had your appetizers.
Main course.
You've had your salad. You've had your French onion soup. Now we're bringing out that main course, ladies and gentlemen. Because what I was referencing earlier at the beginning of the show, came home from school on Wednesday, you know, good day at school, got a lot accomplished and everything, and I sat down and started reading these news stories that Cody Rhodes and his wife Brandy are leaving AEW. And I'm like, wait a minute, that can't be correct. So in the interest of due diligence, I went and started looking for confirmation of this. And I saw on Bleacher Report, thank you Bleacher Report for posting AEW's official statement about it. And it's official. They are no longer with AEW. And then to even double down on this, the rumors towards the end of the week are that he's either in serious contract negotiations with WWE, or he's already signed with WWE and is headed to either the Performance Center or somewhere to start getting in shape for an in-ring return.
I heard something else. He's in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Because What Culture, in their news segment that was posted this morning, someone posted a picture of them and Cody Rhodes at an airport in Poland. And it was somewhat recent because of the tattoo.
Right.
We don't know if it's legit, because much like, because you can use those photos to be misleading, much like Mia Yim did on her Twitter account last week when she tried to throw people off the scent of her husband, posting a picture of them on the beach when it turns out it was a picture that was about 2-3 years old. It could be that, or it could be legit, because the idea of them stopping in Poland is not far-fetched.
I
have a lot to say about this, and a good portion of it is angry. I will not use the words rant mode on in this, because there's no ranting. This is plenty of venom, and I've already warned the guys. I brought an entire box of live ammunition tonight, and this is going to get ugly. So I'm gonna
Now
win.
remember, we are bonded and insured here on Wrestling with Egos, so we got to operate within the confines of, a safe working environment. And
B, I'm the one that signed that contract. I know what I can get away with and what I can't.
okay, that's because and we can crack jokes about it, but there's a number of different ways to take this, and I will. The first person that I contacted about this after I read the news reports was our dear friend RJ.
Yep.
Still consults on the show from time to time, and I texted in one word. I said, dude. And then when somebody's responding to you on Messenger, the three dots start undulating. These three dots undulated for a good 2.5 minutes before, and in the moments after finding out about it, I understand the visceral reaction that he gave. For those that don't know, RJ has been down with AEW since its inception. He is a founding member. He's been down since day one. And he has bought into what Cody, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, Tony Khan, and all of their ilk are doing over there. And it's refreshing, and it's a revelation and all of that. So he said, I know this is going to sound silly, but I feel betrayed. And I came back and I said, it's not silly. Those are your feelings. They are justified. I totally get it. And, we exchanged a few more pleasantries about it. And then I went on with my day. He went on with his. And we've all just spent the next several days processing this. So, Isaac, I'll start with you. Your honest opinions about it. What do you think it all means? What direction do you want to go with this?
My honest opinion is the first thing I thought of is it's a work. The bottom line of it is I know that everyone's getting information here, information there. I think that if you stood here and the way that he left the WWE and the way that they didn't know how to channel a talent like Cody Rhodes in what they had at that time and let him go. He went out, he did what he needed to do. He was a day one person at AEW. He put that whole thing together. There's no way in my mind that I'm going to go back someplace with a no cut contract knowing that they're going to let me go or just punish me for sitting here and holstering the competition that they have now, which is doing better than what they're actually doing. In my mind, Cody will be back. He'll be back sooner rather than later. If they're only off by a few numbers when it comes to the contract, I don't know what the actual thing is, but I'm thinking to myself, if I put all that time and all that effort into something that I know can turn out to be greater than what happens over there, I'm not going to do that. I think it's stupid. I think I don't know Cody, I don't know Brandy personally, but that's what I would do. I'm not going to sit here and waste my time and go backwards, knowing that Cody basically is a boss and he's not going to go back to being a foot soldier. If you're a general, why would you go back to being a sergeant? You know what I'm saying? There's no point in doing that. Now, I see what everyone else is saying. I understand that. Do I feel kind of, left out? Do I feel kind of betrayed? No, I understand it's about money. I understand it's about the business. I understand that. But you're sitting here and you have elevated the game to what it is now. And is what we talk about. This is what we do. This is why we love wrestling. Why in the hell would you go back to sitting there and go back to the hot mess that they are, and you know what they are, and everyone knows that you're not putting up a product that you're doing someplace else. Why waste your time? Why waste your energy? And then eventually get cut because they don't know what they're doing. That's what I feel about it. I know that our buddy Patrick, has a few things that he needs to get off his chest. I'll duck now and let him just go. Because as you can see, he's getting ready. He's looking like he's about to either come out for a boxing match, like he's Mike Tyson, going after
Hurricane Peter.
fighting first round for a first round knockout. Patrick, the floor is yours.
This is Tyson. This is about to become Tyson versus McNeely. Peter McNeely famously said, "I'm Peter McNeely from Worcester, Mass. On whatever date it was. Watch me whoop Mike Tyson's ass." 93 seconds later, Peter McNeely was face down on the mat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wrestling with Egos version of it. It's not a rant mode on. It's duck and cover. I don't care if this is a work or not. First off, it freaking better be a work. Because if it's not, Cody Rhodes is a bastard. Straight up a bastard. And here's why. One, you built that company with your damn bare hands. Yeah, Tony Khan's money, but your idea. When you left WWE and you went to Ring of Honor and you went to Impact and Global Force Wrestling and New Japan, you did everything under the guise of you were becoming your own man and doing it your damn self. You were becoming everything that your father said you could be, and you did. And now you mean to tell me that you're going to even cast a shadow of a doubt that you're going to go back somewhere that that the only damn things they ever did with you is tell you to grow a stupid ass looking mustache, lose a freaking feud to Damian Sandow, and then become Stardust. Stardust is the nickname that I have for my daughter, you dipshit. The WWE did not, under any uncertain freaking terms, know what the hell to do with you. And you're going to cast a shadow of doubt that you're going to go back there? Why? So they can job you out because you have taken veiled shot after veiled shot after veiled shot at that company for 3 freaking years. You've broken thrones. You've called Fish and O'Reilly the developmental team or junior varsity or whatever the shit you called them. You have made more cheap shot veiled references at WWE than Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman combined during the Monday Night War. And you're going to cast a shadow of a doubt that you might go back there? You're a bastard, Cody. Straight up, plain and simple. Now let me get to one other thing. If he's going back, one, let's just, I find it ironic that if he does go back, pay-per-view names in AEW, All In, All Out, Double or Nothing. And if he goes back to WWE, he's just simply sold out. Much like an old WCW pay-per-view. I cannot understand. Him going to WWE to me is irrelevant because he's already, in my opinion, thrown shit at every last one of us that have ever given a crap about AEW. Because he's the guy that built it. He's the guy that said this is the alternative. He's the guy that said that this was the revolution. And for him to even give fans a sliver of doubt proves to us all that even Cody Rhodes doesn't think that AEW can compete with WWE. He's selling his own damn company down the river to make us all think that he's going to show up this weekend at WWE's pay-per-view. I find it very disturbingly ironic that he's cutting off the head of his own damn company to go appear at a pay-per-view in a country where the Crown Prince decapitated a reporter because he wrote something that didn't agree with. Cody Rhodes is a bastard. I don't care where he goes from now on. I think he's a piece of shit. In terms of wrestling, he deserves to rot in hell.
It's kind of difficult to follow that, but I'm going to try.
I'm sorry.
No.
That I went completely freaking scorched earth on that. But that's how I feel about it. He is screwing us all. Because he literally has just turned AEW into TNA all over again. There is no more competition because Cody Rhodes is making us all think that he jumped ship. Whether he does or not, he can come back to AEW and go, gotcha. Screw you. Screw you for making us think that you're bailing on AEW.
I guess as somebody who's got their foot in both worlds, kind of, because I've never really made a decision the way other people have about. No, I know. No, I haven't made a decision about am I an AEW guy or am I a WWE guy. I'm still choosing to watch both because of the fact that there are people in both promotions that I enjoy watching. And I still hold out the hope that those people can deliver moments to me that will resonate the way The Undertaker has for so many years. That's why when I was breaking this down yesterday and today in preparation for the show, I was taking a bit more pragmatic approach where, because yes, when the news broke on Wednesday, I was in shock. And that's why I kept trying to find out information about this. Is this legit? And there were podcasters that were going, is this a shoot or is this a work? And, I'm leaning this way or I'm leaning that way. Let's put it this way. I hope for Cody's sake this is a shoot. Because I feel like this is an example of, once again, Cody's betting on himself. Because I looked at the landscape of AEW. And for what I've heard is that he was being phased out of booking decisions, and then personally, he was involved in a feud that wasn't really going anywhere, a couple of them, as a matter of fact. The last couple of feuds he's been involved in outside of Sammy Guevara have kind of been clunkers. He gets booed out of every arena he steps in now, and yes, he's bringing a lot of that on himself. I'm not saying we should weep for Cody Rhodes because he gets booed. That's not what I'm saying. And then you look at all the people that are coming into the company now, and this is why I feel like AEW might be fine. They're not going to be on the level of trying to compete with WWE and all that, but they've got their niche audience because of the people they've brought in. People like Bryan Danielson, people like Jon Moxley, Keith Lee, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The roster gets room to breathe now a little bit more. Yeah, I think it can, because you can reassert Hangman as a viable champion again. And Hangman's been adrift ever since he won the title at Full Gear, I think. But now, reassert your champion. If you're running Adam Cole at him, then fine, but make him look strong again. You've got the Inner Circle breaking up. Give that room to breathe. You've got a banger of a feud right now with Punk and MJF. They're about to have a dog collar match, which is, hello. It's going to be pretty awesome. You've got Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley kind of dancing circles around each other. You've got the great stories. And I think that roster now gets time to breathe. You've brought in Switchblade Jay White, which I am here for it. I just feel like it's the optimist in me. I want to believe that Cody's got an end game here. I'm also looking at it from the WWE side. He goes to WWE, and I like to think that we could just put him into feuds with people. Could you imagine a WrestleMania match, for example, Cody versus Seth Rollins? Shut up and take my money. Cody versus Finn Balor. Shut up and take my money. Cody versus Ricochet. I mean, there. And I'll also say this. This is not the Cody Rhodes from 2016. You've taken shots at WWE, yes. I get that. There's bitterness there. But Bruce Pritchard, Vince McMahon cannot honestly look themselves in the mirror and say that that's the same Cody that left in 2016. This is a different Cody. There's different people here now that we can work him with. I don't think he shows up tomorrow night, personally. I know he might be traveling with him or whatever, because where do you put him? It doesn't make sense to run him at Lesnar. It doesn't make sense to run him at Roman. It doesn't make sense to do any of that. In time, maybe. Is he the one to finally dethrone Roman Reigns? No. I don't think that makes sense either. But what I'm saying is, from a roster standpoint, there's meat on that bone. And that's kind of what I'm choosing to believe. Yes, I get the deep-seated feelings that people have, you know, if you're all in with AEW and stuff like that, that there's betrayal there, there's all this stuff, but I'm looking at it from Cody's standpoint. You know, if this company's passing me by, if I'm being phased out of these decisions, then, you know, my input isn't going to be valued anymore, then maybe I do need to go. So, Patrick, go ahead.
Cody won't factor into any major WWE storyline, and here's why. Let me ask you guys a question. How long did it take Booker T to actually become relevant in WWE after the purchase of WCW? Several years, correct? Several years, correct? And
And then he got jobbed out of Triple H.
Right, and then after that, he had to ditch being Booker T and become King Booker, and finally became World Heavyweight Champion. Couldn't even put the WWE title on him; they had to put the World Heavyweight title on him. Let me ask you next question: how many matches did Sting win in WWE? 0-2. He lost to Trips. He lost to Seth. Next question. Do you guys remember what Triple H said to Billy Gunn when DX was inducted into the Hall of Fame? I'll give you.
I remember.
It wasn't Triple H's words. You can clearly tell that it was Vince's words. Triple H just espousing them. But he referred to Billy Gunn's company as, and I quote, that pissant company, which is the same pissant company that Cody Rhodes is rumored to be leaving as we speak, which all this does is prove Vince right. God, even saying that makes me want to freaking vomit. But Cody is, whether you want to talk, you can talk about Kenny, you can talk about the Bucks, you can talk about Britt, you can talk about Punk, Danielson, Keith Lee, Jeff Hardy coming in very soon. I don't give two craps. Cody Rhodes is the face of AEW. He's the one on the Go Big show. He's the one on the reality show. It's nobody else except Cody. And now he's jumping ship. He has literally sold his own company down the river. He's I find it very funny that he's the American Nightmare and he dresses up in red, white, and blue, kind of like Homelander from The Boys. But in terms of wrestling, he's the biggest Benedict Arnold of them all. Shout out to Gorilla Monsoon for that one. He's a traitor. He didn't betray any of us. He lied. He just sold us all out. And I don't care if he shows up in WWE or not. To me, now, it's irrelevant. Because he's already made us doubt him. He can go back to AEW and he will be no more than Mike Awesome in ECW, leaving with the ECW World Championship to go to WCW. He's no more than Mike Awesome. He's no more than, God love her, no more. He's no more than Medusa when Alundra Blaze left the WWF with their women's championship and dumped it in the trash on Nitro. To hell with him. I got nothing good to say about him anymore. RG could be on this show and I would say the exact same thing. He is a sellout in the worst possible way. Now I'm not talking about like, when a band is, a niche band and then they get really big and they sold out. Kind of like Metallica. Metallica, like from Injustice for All to the very beginning of their career with, Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets and Injustice for All. Metallica was awesome. I thought they were awesome. Beyond that, when they got to the Black Album and Load and Reload and Garage Inc., I thought those were all awesome. But a lot of people will say that starting with the Black Album, starting with Enter Sandman, they sold out. You can make the argument, yeah, they did sell out. Every damn building.
In every damn album.
Exactly. But here, and some of the later albums got crappy. But anyway, that's a different story for a different time. We're not talking about music. Cody has been early Metallica up until just now. And now he's that band that sold out and stopped making great music all for the money. And even if he doesn't take the money, he's making us think that he might be taking the money. I'd rather him be a traitor and show up to WWE than make us all think that he's a traitor and show back up on AEW just to hit Crossroads on Hangman and say, now that I left and I'm back, now those rules don't apply and I can challenge for the AEW World Championship. Which honestly and truly, I think if he doesn't go to WWE, I think that's what's going to happen. And that makes me even more sick. But regardless, he's a freaking traitor. Isaac, you have Brian and I have gone back and forth on this, and I am sorry that I kind of pulled the reins back this way, but I had so much to say on this. Go.
I look at it. I see your point. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I just, in the back of my mind, we don't. I'm sitting here and I've got some other things that are piling up on me. Cody would be. It would be a lot for me if I was in that company to be like, "Yo, dude, what were you doing? What were you even thinking about even mentioning the name of WWE and going over there and possibly thinking that someone was going to go over there and do that after the way they played you out? Just not what I was thinking. I'm thinking a lot about what's happening. I know that we haven't really mentioned that much about we talked about possibly seeing Cody in an airport, and we don't really want to talk about the pay-per-view that's coming up and how they're saying big things are going to happen. Whatever. I'm not really concerned that much about it, whether they do something special or whether they do not do something special. But one thing that I'm really concerned about, we haven't really mentioned this, is just that Sonya Deville is going over there. And that is problematic in and of itself because she is openly gay. And in that country, they do specifically kill people that are gay. She's going over there and could possibly get hurt. And that's a big, huge problem for me. And the fact that the company's letting her go over there and wrestle is problematic.
Isaac, honestly and truly, with all due respect, man, I think that's kind of a reach because I don't think WWE would put her in harm's way I mean, they're stupid, but they're not that stupid, because if something were to happen to her, my God, at the public relations and international relationship nightmare that would become if some harm were to come to an American citizen who is not only a woman but also homosexual. My God, the news outlets would crucify WWE. It would be the end of professional wrestling as we know it. It would be a nuclear bomb. So something happening to her, in my opinion, last thing on my mind. Because WWE would, if WWE is not aware that her safety would pretty much mean Judgment Day. Like, she is right in this particular scenario that you just painted. She's John Connor. If John Connor dies, the machines win.
Yep.
You know, that's pretty much it. Not gonna happen. I mean, it's a terrifying thought, but I think you got a better opportunity than me wearing a Bama jersey.
The last time they were in Saudi Arabia, there was a lot of people that were left there.
No, that was the first time, not the last time. The last time was unfortunately that amazing show they had back in September, October at Crown Jewel when Woods won the King of the Ring and Zelina won the Queen's Crown.
Yes.
Which turned out to be a bitching show.
Let me ask you both a question.
Yes, I am awesome.
No, that definitely won the question.
Just trying to defend.
Checking my notes. That is not in my notes.
Thank you.
To throw a Harry Potter line in, just trying to diffuse the tension.
Going back to Cody, kind of try to tie a bow on it. Is there any scenario, Patrick, I'll go to you first. Is there any scenario in which you change your stance about the man?
In a word, no.
No.
2 words, hell no.
Okay, and that's fair. I mean, again, I reiterate that I'm looking at it from the standpoint of why would he make this decision?
Cody,
where there's smoke, there's fire. That's why I don't think this is a work. I don't think, I don't think you go back there because of all the bridges you're going to burn with AEW, because they're torched pretty much if this is true. Excuse me. So now again, you're betting on yourself and, trying to make a way for yourself, because I keep going back to how he's not the same guy he was 6 years ago. And that has to count for something, in my opinion.
I don't care what guy he is from 6, 7 years ago. I don't care what he is now. I don't care what he was then. The fact of the matter is he was there. I am now speaking as if I am WWE. He was their guy. Much like Sting was their guy. Much like Booker T was their guy. Cody Rhodes will lose every major feud he's in. They will feed him to Roman. They will feed him to Seth. They will feed him to Bobby. They will feed him to Brock. Hell, they'll feed him to Finn Balor, and they don't even put Finn Balor on TV anymore. Cody Rhodes will be a $3 to $5 million a year piece of dog shit. He will be a punching bag just to prove a point, because Vince McMahon, if creative, yes. Hell of a businessman, yes. Petty as a mofo, damn right. He's as petty as I am loud.
And I guess this is wishful thinking on my part because I
and that's why I love you, Brian, because you are capable in this situation of wishful thinking, because I am not. In my opinion, all hope is lost.
If nothing else, what AEW has been able to accomplish and what, to a lesser extent, Impact's been able to accomplish and what Ring of Honor was able to accomplish is that the wrestling business can work differently than how WWE chooses to do it.
Yes.
You look at a guy like Jay White, having banger matches in New Japan and the G1 and then showing up on Impact and showing up on AEW television. Every so often I see these posters for indie matches, and because we all follow Thunder Rosa on Twitter. She follows us, friend of show. It seems like every 2 weeks she's in a different show for a regional promotion and stuff like that, and her face is on that poster. This is how the wrestling business should work.
Real quick, you invoked the name of the almighty Thunder Rosa. Did you guys see the news today?
I did not.
Revolution, Britt Thunder for the title.
Hashtag LFG. Get him, Rosa.
Hashtag about damn time.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for letting me do that. Go.
I acknowledge the way both of you feel about it. I acknowledge the way RJ feels about it. I totally understand that. But there has to be an end game. And I think if the end game is he shows back up on AEW because it was a maneuver to get a shot at the title, I think that's dumb. Because at best, he's probably 7th or 8th in line right now for a title shot. Hangman's got the belt right now. They appear to be maneuvering Adam Cole into the number one contendership for that. Richly deserved as far as I'm concerned. We're not even going to talk about all the crap he's been getting on Twitter the past couple of weeks. I mean, Jesus, do you people have anything better to complain about than what he looks like with his shirt off? Anyway.
Wait, people are complaining about the way Adam Cole looks like with his shirt off?
Yes, and these people need to get a life. I'm sorry.
Time. Have people been watching wrestling for like the last 8 years? Because guess what? Some bitch ain't changed. He looked the same way in Ring of Honor. He looked the same way when he would make appearances in New Japan. He looked the same as he did in NXT. Nothing has changed. Why is it a problem now?
Right. So, I mean, if
Jesus.
I didn't even think about that when you said it's a ploy to get him back in the title picture because, hell, I think Bryan Danielson deserves a run with the AEW. Can you imagine Bryan Danielson in his current form as the AEW championship? He'd hold it 5 years. I mean,
this is the best Bryan Danielson we've ever seen in my opinion.
That it's mind blowing, and now you've got, there's just all of these fresh, invigorated, and I think if it is a work, it's the dumbest work in the history of works.
It's suicide.
Because you're short-circuiting everything that you were cultivating so much.
It's a suicidal work if it is. Because if he comes back, what the fart does he? I'm trying to watch my language. I know I've dropped some. I know I've said shit plenty of times. I'm trying not to say the F-bomb tonight. But what the fart do you think is going to happen if you come back? Do you think there's going to be a ticker tape freaking parade and people are going to cheer your ass?
No.
No, they're going to throw more shit at you than they did Hogan when he joined the NWO, you dumbass.
Yeah.
For you to even think, and I'm saying you being you, Cody Rhodes, you dumb, stupid son of a bitch. I mean that.
We know who you're referring to. We got you.
For you to even think, if this is a work, if you're working us all, you do realize that
you don't need to.
You're pissing us all off. And this grand payoff that you think's going to happen is literally going to blow up in your face when none of us give a flying damn whether or not you live or die.
Yeah.
It's as simple
you'd come back and do that, and I just be like, okay, cool. When's Chris Statlander coming out? Is she going to wrestle tonight?
Yeah. Hey, Cody Rhodes, if he comes back to AEW, Cody Rhodes is my new Nikki Bella. He comes out, I'm going to go pay.
Yeah, I mean, and I thank you for bringing the points up that you guys have brought up, because, me sitting over here looking at the logical, pragmatic, aspects of it, I guess I kind of undervalued the visceral, guttural feeling aspect of it.
And I want to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, because this is something that we discussed in our pre-show meeting. Originally, boys and girls, Brian wanted to allocate about 10, 15 minutes of the, as he just said, the visceral stuff, and then talk about about the future and kind of spin it that way. We all came to an agreement to just kind of organically let it rip. And now we're getting the end result. He's like, yeah, having, this, I didn't look at the more visceral approach to it, which is why this show is so freaking good, man.
And, because most of the reaction that I've seen has been of the cerebral, okay, what does this mean? Spin it forward, yada, yada, yada. And that's fine.
Because everybody has to overthink this shit, dude. And the thing is, I don't, realistically speaking, and Isaac, you and I have seem to be a little bit in lockstep. Me a lot more ferocious about this than you are, but I don't think the cerebral aspect of this, the booking aspect of this, I don't think it means jack shit. And because of the visceral reaction, just on the top layer, yes or no, I don't, irregardless of where he ends up, WWE, AEW, Impact, I don't care. Well, Impact, whatever. But WWE, AEW, irregardless of where he shows up, Brian, I'm asking you to do something really hard for you. Stop being a smart guy for just 1 second. Stop using this and use this. Only this as a wrestling fan. Be a fanboy, hardcore, for 30 seconds. Yes or no? Do you doubt the credibility of Cody Rhodes because of this? Say it. You don't want to, but
I need to see where it goes. I don't. I'm sorry. I know.
Wait,
you know what? I'm not sorry.
The swerve is that way. It's a yes or no. And Brian, this is true or false. This is yes or no. This is yes or no. This isn't.
Welcome special guest Naomi to the show.
It's a yes or no answer. It's true or false. Go. There's no well, it's a maybe or a two and a possible. It's none of that. It's yes or no.
If that's how you're phrasing it, then I'm going to say yes, because I want to see what happens with him. I mean, because let me explain myself. If I were Cody, I would be sitting back thinking, geez, I did it. I've got a groundswell of support. I've got all these matches that people are lauding. The company is doing great. We're getting great attendance. We're getting great merch sales. We're getting great ratings on TV, all this stuff. So I'm not in the championship picture. So what? So I'm not, being as involved as I used to be in booking decisions. So what? But you're going to tell me you can't sit down with Tony and have an honest man-to-man talk about that? That's why the logic just doesn't add up for me right now. So I need to see what happens, for it to be a good decision for him to do this. The opposite of what Patrick has said tonight has to be true. He has to go to WWE, and he has to be the first person to not be just, see, I told you so, I'm going to punish you now because you dared to bet on yourself, and you dared to strike out on your own, and you dared to do all of that stuff. But unfortunately, even the optimist in me realizes that as long as Vince is sitting there in Gorilla, and as long as Vince is sitting at the head of his granite brushed iron table at the production meeting, then Cody must lose. Simon will bring Simon Dean back, and Cody will lose to him, and all this kind of stuff. And
Brian,
I guess in my heart of hearts, I just can't see how you continue to operate that way when you look at everything else that's going on in the wrestling business, maybe Vince doesn't spend any time worrying about what else is going on in the wrestling business because to him, he is the wrestling business, damn it.
Yeah. Isaac, go.
Okay, you're still thinking logically.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait, Patrick. Let me, Patrick, you're here. I'm here. I got this. Okay, give me 1 second. You're still thinking logically. The WWE in the past year has not thought about anything logically. We all can agree upon that. They haven't given us what we, as to quote the best friends, they haven't given us what we want. We haven't stood here. We haven't gotten that big hug in the middle of the circle and all sitting there and loving it. We're not getting that. We're not going to get that. Cody knows if he goes back to the WWE, he might as well go to the bathroom and excuse myself and just take himself out. Because that's basically what he's doing. What is the point of doing that? It's not logical. You have built something from day one, from the ground up, and logically, because you ain't making a few extra dollars, you're going to go back to the other company that dumped on you, that dumped on your brother, that dumped on your father, not just like one time, but decades. And then they put Dusty's name on the cup for the tag team title for NXT. Come on, man. That's just no, we ain't doing all that. We're gonna
I don't know how you guys are seeing us in terms of I don't know how it's gonna be how this is gonna look when we put it on YouTube. Sometimes we're in different boxes. But currently the way we're looking at it, Brian's in the big box, Isaac is on top, and I'm on bottom. So this is all I'm gonna say.
All I'm saying,
and I can appreciate what you guys are trying to get me to do. It's just really difficult to shut that part of my brain off.
Yes, we know.
I'm not wired like that. So, rest assured, folks, we are going to keep tabs on this story going forward. We're going to see what develops, and if there's more newsworthy stuff about this, we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring it to you.
Can I make one more point before? Because I know we're getting ready to get out of here, but let me make one more point. It's kind of piggybacks off of what Isaac said. Cody had a hand in building this company. Cody, Nick, and Matt came up with the idea of All In. They got Ring of Honor to pay for it. And that became the foundation that they built AEW on. He built that entire palace, we'll call it. He built that palace with his bare damn hands. What kind of a man? What kind of a businessman? What kind of a person who believes in hard work? He wears a stupid weight belt that says do the work on it all the time. What kind of a person that believes in that walks away from something that they built with their bare freaking hands when it's not falling apart? Oh my God, this just hit me. If Cody is leaving because his booking power has been taken away from him, his booking power has been taken away from him from the company that he built. He had a massive hand in building. Then he, more than Steve Austin or CM Punk could ever do, he's taking his ball and he's going home. Cody Rhodes is a sellout. Cody Rhodes is a traitor. Cody Rhodes is a bitch. Because we keep talking about these points and we keep bringing these things together. And for me, I had a bad opinion about Cody before Brian hit the record button tonight. It's gotten worse in the last hour. Because I'm just like, Jesus Christ, dude, everything that his father preached on TV as the American dream that the Rhodes. You know, the hard times promo. Cody Rhodes is pissing all over it right now. Just by doing this. Whether or not he follows through on it and goes to WWE or not, I don't care. He is desecrating one of the most iconic moments of his father's God-like career. Not legendary, God-like career. Screw Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, now and forever, in the world of Patrick Swafford, goes on, and I'm not trying to be funny or make a wrestling reference here. I have a personal list. And this is a list of sports teams and athletes that I will burn in hell for before I ever cheer. I will burn in hell before I ever cheer for them. And at the top of that list, with a bullet, is the Alabama Crimson Tide. I'll never cheer for them. Just like I will never cheer for the Yankees, the Phillies, the Cardinals, the Mets, the Flyers, the Capitals, Cody Rhodes. There is nothing. Cody Rhodes can save a bunch of orphans and stray animals
From a burning building.
And then donate all of his money to making their lives whole, and I will still think he's a piece of crap. He won't be a piece of shit then. He'll still be a piece of crap. And let me ask one more thing. I want to go back to the building it with your bare hands. If you're an owner, an EVP in this case, why do you feel the need to have your ego stroked so much that you have to be the man as well? Let me ask you, I love hockey. I am a diehard Pittsburgh Penguins fan. Up until very recently, the Penguins were owned by the legendary Mario Lemieux. He still has a controlling interest in the team, but new ownership. Mario Lemieux, for a couple of years after he bought the team, played on the team alongside a very young Sidney Crosby, alongside a very young Evgeny Malkin. Mario Lemieux did not need or want to be the leading goal scorer. Mario Lemieux wanted a winning team. Cody Rhodes is not capable of wanting a winning team. He doesn't want to win the Super Bowl. He wants to be the guy that helps his team win the Super Bowl on the field. He wants to be Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones wants to be the quarterback of the damn Dallas Cowboys. That's what it is. I think you're laughing, but tell me I'm wrong.
The problem is you're right. You're definitely right.
When you put it that way.
Can't argue.
There's nothing. B, I appreciate the fact that you are trying to find, one, a cerebral way of looking at this, and two, a positive way of looking at this. And I try to do the same thing in wrestling and in life. But holy, look,
I'm not saying it's not difficult.
Oh, I know. Hey, look,
I was reaching for a lot of that stuff on that sheet.
That was a hell of a reach too, Bubba. Look, I hate the Yankees, but you know what? If Derek Jeter played for any other team except the Yankees, he would have been my third favorite baseball player of all time, behind Chipper Jones and Ken Griffey Jr. But he's a Yankee, so he has to fall down the list just a bit, because he was wearing the damn pinstripes and barf. Cody, in my opinion, doesn't have any redeeming qualities right now. I hate, as an Auburn fan, I hate all SEC teams, including the Florida Gators. Tim Tebow had redeeming qualities, even though Florida was kicking our asses at that point. But you know what? Cody Rhodes, I am struggling mightily right now to find a redeeming quality about Cody Rhodes. The only thing he hasn't done is something criminal, like something Marty Skrull did, or Joey Ryan, or someone like that. At least he's got, hey, there's my positive. At least he's got that going for him. At least he didn't rape anybody.
And that sounds like a good place to wrap it up for the evening.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know I went there, but
I'm there.
Well, you went there.
I'll beat that out. We'll still have this. We'll still have this awkward exchange, but I'll beat that.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, we know that this is something that we're all very passionate about, because this is why we love wrestling. We want to sit here and talk about things and with an open discussion and get each other's feelings about it. Some people are a little bit more passionate about what they feel. Other people are a little bit more reserved. Other people try to think analogically about certain things. We're not going to sit here and point or do any, because we're already doing
like we're voguing.
You know where we are. You know where we stand. The bottom line of it is, please let us know what you feel. Do you think Patrick's right? Do you believe that Brian is overthinking it? Or is he right? Are we all completely wrong? Let us know. Let us know what you're feeling. Interact with us. We want to hear what you think. We still want to know if there's something you want us to review, if there's something that you guys want us to talk about, if there's a topic that we have not touched upon that you think we need to be touching upon, please let us know. We are very open to doing those things. Patrick.
And how would our viewers and our listeners do that, my friend? Since you're the one that's actually set that up, you gotta finish it, baby. You gotta give them this.
Wrestling at xegos.com. Please come talk to us. You can find us on the Twitter pages. Please text us. I'm sorry. Get us at Twitter.
What the big Don of Wrestling with Egos is trying to say is, you want to tweet the show, it's at WrestlingXEgos on Twitter. It's WrestlingWithEgos@gmail.com. We're on Facebook too.
You can call 832
WWEshop.com. Oh my God. It's wonderful.
I can't believe I got to work that in. That was great.
Easy, Miz.
Hey, that was awesome. Anyway, moving right along. B, you've been the one moderating this insanity all night long. By the way, hell of a job tonight, bro. You get the last word.
Again, and I'll triple down on it. I want to see what's going to come of this. I mean, my gut feeling, if gun to the head right now, I'm thinking he shows up in WWE somewhere. I think Elimination Chamber is too soon. If I'm booking it, here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to let Elimination Chamber happen. After Elimination Chamber happens, there's going to be people who are adrift. I would not run him at a champion right away. I would have him come out, whether it's pre-recorded or come out to the ring and see what the reception is going to be and have him talk. That's his turn, his chance to answer for the decisions he's made. And then whether you want to have somebody interrupt him that he's got some history with that's still there, or you want to have somebody fresh interrupt him or whatever, or you want to have him have a backstage encounter to set something up. Because as I said earlier in the show, there's permutations there for it. Would I be happy if we got Cody versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania? Yes, I would. Because the bottom line is Cody is a great in-ring performer, and he's great on the microphone. The decision-making skills aside, and Patrick and Isaac, I'm not trying to say that you're wrong for feeling the way you do. I get that. I cannot discount the visceral reactions about the people that feel like he's making a huge mistake and then he's betrayed everybody and he's, stomping all over the memory of his father and things like that. I want to spin it forward. I want to say, okay, you had this moment. Now what are you going to do with it? That's really what I'm looking forward to in the coming weeks. And I'll leave it at that.
I promise you, you'd have the last word, and you're getting it. So there are things I would say, but a promise is a promise. Let it be known, boys and girls, that it's tonight that I finally let Brian have the last word on this show. So the music's playing, which means it's time to walk this thing off. So we want to thank you guys so much for making Wrestling with Egos a part of your wrestling knowledge. This has been one hell of a show. So we would love to hear back from you guys. You can hit us up as the Big Don attempted to say, and Brian filled in the holes. You can go to www.shop.com. Or you can actually just tweet us at WrestlingXEgos. Don't forget, you can also email us wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. Dude, it's been a while since I've done this. I've been letting you run the show, and then I took a break. So wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. We got the Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestlingwithegos.
Leave us that 5-star review on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or whatever platform you're consuming the show on.
YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor Podcasts, however you're listening to us. Again, thank you so much. Also, don't forget, YouTubers, we are still on the drive for 500 subscribers. Means I take chops to the chest, and trust me, it'll be glorious. Maybe after all the crap that I've said, maybe we can get Cody to light me up. I'll take it. I'll take it for some viewership, bro. I will gladly take one for the team. Brian and Isaac will be back with you guys next week. I have no idea what they're going to talk about. They'll figure it out as the week goes on. But until then,
next week it's the next installment of our GOAT discussion. Deuce and Domino, where do they rank in the all-time tag teams? We're gonna break it down for you.
And see.
Whoa, you can actually see my glasses.
That's why I said Naomi's on the show.
You can see my glasses. Damn. Anyway, I'm at Rant Mode On. Brian is at BCrigo15. Isaac is at I4th, and we are out of here. This has been Wrestling with Egos. Thank you so much for joining us, because conversations like this is why we love wrestling.